You've got support here on cars, whatever. Illicit behavior on your part. Wrong? Yes, it is. Yeah, you and me both. I was hoping to have more casual today. More like
I didn't know if they had narrow window.
yeah, but we don't have to work here.
Most of the managers agree. Yeah. Who is the manager? There's just kind of shit, but the one he was. Yeah. It's good. And the merge isn't quite.
Check it every once in a while, just in case it cuts out. Make sure to check it every once in a while, in case it shuts out. Like yeah. Or else Marshall will run up.
This is nothing too busy.
No, I'm trying to get somebody.
Oh.
Are you basing that in? That's why.
Because we wanted to make an announcement without it being circulated.
After trying to organize raining and I thought it was great. Thank you, Chris. I know what this is. Are you?
She's usually my alternate. Oh, when I can't go. Yeah, it doesn't matter either way.
Maybe she's
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first Senate meeting of our spring semester. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you don't mind, we do have a quorum. Do we have any alternates in attendance today? Any alternates? All right. Seeing none, I ask for a motion to adopt the agenda. It has been moved and seconded. Are there any changes to the order of the agenda? Yes, sir.
Can we move, there's something that Mark wants to talk about under faculty business, 8A,
Okay.
that can be done during your curriculum report, right, Mark? Yeah. And there are some people, I believe, who are guests here that we want to accommodate their schedule.
Okay, so we're moving item 8A under the,
Faculty new?
under faculty new or special reports curriculum committee?
Well, it's going up that's going up under special reports curriculum committee. Does that make sense?
So we're moving 8A, faculty issues new business revision of AP 4020 to just beneath or included in 5D curriculum committee report.
Yes.
Is there a second on the motion to move that item? Are there any other revisions to the agenda? Yes, sir?
This is the last one, right? Some of the wording was changed on the resolution of condemnation of unprofessional conduct. It was
Item
originally-
7F?
Yes,
Okay.
it was originally private correspondence, and it was changed to department survey. So I'd just like to be changed back to its original wording.
Oh, okay. So the agenda item should read the distribution of private correspondence that took place?
Yes.
Very well. But we're not moving the agenda item, we are only
This
defining it,
so it's-
correcting the description.
I have no problem with that. If we find that it is actually a department survey, would you mind if we switched it back for anything in the future?
Since this is a second reading of an agendized item from December, shouldn't it be that same language that moves forward?
Well, it also says second reading, so I would say no. The first one says first reading. So there is going to be a change to some of it, but I'm totally okay with it. That's fine with me.
I don't see any need for a change on that because the issue is what was done, not what the subject of that was. So whether it was a department survey or anything else, it would be irrelevant to me in terms of the photocopying and distribution of something that was personal.
So what I hear is that we have a motion that would change the description of the agenda item. Is there a second for the change in the description of the agenda item? Okay. All those in favor of changing the description of the agenda item on 7F? Any opposed to changing the description?
Nay.
And any abstentions? Very well. Then what we have before you is a motion with the reordering of item 8A underneath the Curriculum Committee 5D report.
I'd also move that we limit debate on all topics to the time stated on the agenda.
Second.
All right. Anyone in opposition to staying within the time constraints? Oh, good. I will say that was unanimous then. Then all those in favor of adopting the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposition? Very well. Any abstentions? We will proceed with the approval of the minutes from November 12th, then I'll do the December 11th. Are there any additions or corrections before I entertain a motion on the minutes from November 12th?
13.
November 13th?
Yeah.
Okay. Any additions or revisions to the minutes of November 13th before I entertain a motion for their acceptance? Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, I forgot my folder, but I believe there were two corrections on those minutes in the second to the last paragraph and the last paragraph. Instead of bachelors, I think it read bachelorette. Okay, we got that corrected?
It's actually another program Dr. Simpson's going to talk about today.
I wanted to be sure that we got that straight. And then I think the word handle left off the E. Got that? Okay, perfect. Okay. So I'm fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other revisions or corrections to the minutes of November 13th? Then I will entertain a motion to accept. And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? And any abstentions? Very well. Then are there any corrections to the minutes of December 11th before I entertain a motion for their acceptance? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes of December 11th?
It's a motion. So moved.
Thank you. And a second? And all those in favor, please.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Oh, good. I'm going to guess there was nobody in opposition of passing those minutes. All right, for public commentary, I have asked Ashley Griffith to come and introduce herself to us, and she so gratefully obliged me. So I'd like to introduce you to Ashley Griffith. She is our new Special Project Director of Student Equity. Welcome to Senate, Ashley.
Nice to meet you. You guys will be seeing a lot of me. The next time I come to one of your meetings, I hope to have a forum for you. So I'm just really excited to be here. I'm excited for the opportunity, and I can't wait to collaborate with you. And I'm just here to assist you in getting the programming and projects off that will help our students and just get these equitable outcomes manifested. So I'm just happy to be here, happy to meet you. So if you need me, Delina has my contact information, so I'll definitely be seeing you around. Thank you.
And in the event you can't join us in person, you can stream us live on Cypress.com. Thank you, Ashley. Any others for public commentary? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jolena. I'm Kathy Franklin from English Reading Department, and I just had a brief commentary. And I want to say I have mixed emotions about making this commentary because I generally have very positive feelings about Senate and my colleagues. But at the last Senate meeting, some remarks were made that I believe made an unfair characterization of the Language Arts Division. A resolution condemning misconduct regarding the unauthorized photocopying of private correspondence was introduced, and the comments I'm referring to occurred during the subsequent question and answer portion. It was stated by a senator that he had to keep refereeing disputes from the Language Arts Division and that the situation was, quote, ridiculous. It was also stated that the actions were mere, quote, pissiness, and that if needed, there would be a, quote, imposition by Senate. Some of these sentiments may have been spoken in the heat of the moment, but I think it is important to point out that the Language Arts Division is not in disarray. In fact, we are a fully functioning division making sound professional decisions for our college, our division, and our students. For the last year or two, we have had difficult and occasionally tumultuous times. We do not always see eye to eye, and at times we have been at impasse. And some things have happened that should not have happened. However, overall, as a division, we have behaved professionally, respectfully, collaboratively, and inclusively. For the most part, we work well together and get along. We've compromised and reached important decisions. For example, we reached consensus on the reading proficiency issue. More recently, the division, by a wide majority, including over half of the English department members who voted, agreed that English, ESL, and reading should work collaboratively if a new English course is created, a new accelerated English course. Finally, once in a petition and once in a vote, the division indicated its displeasure with the mailroom incident, and it made a clear statement that we do want to work together in integrity and trust. And as a division, we value our intelligent, passionate faculty, and we have been and remain fully capable of self-governance. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome.
Any others for public commentary, Pat?
Now, I'd like to address the same issue. At the end of the meeting, after we had the first reading, Jolena asked if there were any questions. Several people had questions, and I think we can address those when we get to that section. There were a couple of people who made comments And in one case, I think it was germane, and we'll get to that when we get to the resolution. But as Kathy alluded to, there were comments being made that were not directed at this specific resolution, but rather at the dysfunction in the Language Arts Division. I'm concerned about the comments in two directions. One, in terms of what has occurred in the past, and two, what is going to occur in the future. We were told by this individual that he had to spend a huge amount of his time refereeing issues that are involved in the Senate. I went back through the minutes of the 43 Senate meetings since that individual joined the Senate, and have tried to identify every single one that in any way, shape, or form involves the Language Arts Division. I have compiled those. I am not going to read them to you, but I am going to pass them around so you can take a look at them. In many cases, these issues were raised by people even outside of the division, not even division senators. In some cases where there was a split, yes, there was a response because somebody from one department raised a point at a meeting, and the other department at a subsequent meeting felt that there was a need to respond to that. It strikes me as would be very unfortunate if we said people can say whatever they want in public commentary, but then it becomes uncollegial if somebody answers them later on. And I think you will see that that is what is taking place most of the time. I want people to have these just so that you can have a real sense of what truly has taken place. You will also note that on almost all of these, the Senate has not been asked to referee anything. No action was being called for by the Senate on most of these items. That's the past. I was even more concerned, though, when there were references made to the future, that if the Language Arts Division couldn't come to an agreement, this body would impose a resolution on them. Now, frankly, I don't know exactly what that means. It was fairly vague, and it's probably better that it's vague. But that gives me great concern, and I don't want that to go unanswered in public commentary. The very thought that people are going to say we are going to impose something on you because we don't like the disagreements in your division has me very, very worried. At one point, we were told, well, I want a resolution that that all of the members of the division could agree upon. I don't know of many places where you would find 100% agreement. I can guarantee you I could not get 100% agreement in our division to vote on a resolution to wish me a happy birthday. I probably could come close to that if it were a happy retirement. But this idea that everybody has to agree or we're going to start imposing things on me sends shudders down my spine, and I hope it sends shudders down the rest of your spine. And to me, those comments that were made last week need to be responded to. I'm sorry if that seems uncollegial, but it seems uncollegial to let comments along these lines go and people not being able to respond to them. Public commentary is not a place to lob a bomb and have it unresponded to. It is a place for people to bring up issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. I was not keeping track, but I will. Our public commentary should be limited to 3 minutes per person. I want to make sure we can hear from as many people as possible during public commentary. Are there any other comments? Yes, sir.
Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you.
Welcome, Dr. Simpson.
Thank you. I will not take much of your time, but I always, at the start of each semester, I want to be here, first of all, to welcome you back, but to thank you for the work that you're doing for the college, the commitment that you make to the college. I want you to know how very much I appreciate that. And we don't always have to agree, but we will have to come to agreement even on those issues that we will address. We'll find agreement. And I have no doubt that's what's happened in the past, that's what will happen in the future. Lots of good things going here at the college, and you are aware of many of those. Let me address just one briefly. Measure J hearing is February 18th, Wednesday of next week. We are of the opinion, and our lawyers of the opinion, there's absolutely no merit in that lawsuit. We expect that the hearing will be positive. Unfortunately, or fortunately, in our system of jurisprudence, those who fail at trial can appeal, and an appeal can certainly be filed. And so we may prevail at the hearing, which would close the door on that hearing, but if the plaintiffs lose, they can go to the Court of Appeals. which drags it out even longer. And I just think it's important that you know that, because the longer it goes before there's final judicial resolution, the longer it will be before we can really meaningfully engage in all of the processes to start the construction that is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. But I wanted you to be aware of that. I'm actually going to attend the hearing, and so I will have better informed information to share with you after that. But again, we have no doubt we're going to prevail. 3 issues that I want to bring up that, the Senate has incredibly important work to do. And you're entitled to have an opinion on any work of the college, academic, professional, or not. But there are areas that are specifically the purview of the Senate. And I need to ask you to address your attention on those issues. First, we have a site visit for accreditation coming up. We're going to have to do a self-study. We're going to have to meet accreditation standards, and one of the standards we need to meet is institutional standards for student success. What level do we expect our students to attain with respect to completion and success? Those are academic standards, and I can invent them for you. That's not appropriate. That is an absolutely appropriate matter for the Senate to determine. What is the appropriate success rate that we should expect for our students? How many students do we expect to obtain degrees and certificates and transfer? Those standards need to be set by the institution, and I believe it's appropriate for the Senate, most appropriate for the Senate to establish those. Related to that, we're going in our self-study, we're going to have to address our status with SLOs, and we need to catch up. We are woefully behind. Sarah is going to talk, I believe, about a review that we had by a consultant that has some suggestions for what we need to do to catch up. But again, those SLOs are fundamentally the faculty's purview, and I prefer that our plan going forward is one that is supported and endorsed by the Senate, that college administration can then support and provide the resources for. And finally, I know you've got a significant amount of work to do. We have the bachelorette degree that we're going to be working on, apparently.
Who gets the rose?
But in conjunction with that, not only do we have to develop major coursework, we're also going to have to develop general education coursework. There is a lot that has to be done there. And again, an absolutely, clearly academic matter under the purview of the Senate. So I look forward to those items being agendized. I look forward to the conversation. And to the extent that we can support those efforts, we certainly will do so. And with that, welcome back. Thank you. My office hours are awfully lonely, so take advantage if you can.
Thank you very much, Dr. Simpson. Any others for public commentary? Yes, sir.
I received something in my mailbox. It's amazing how things can be put in your mailbox without requesting them. That they want me to read. This is the 3rd time I've received something like this. Gary has also received them and has commented on them in the past. I would say before I'm reading this that it is, I appreciate getting these. It really is interesting. I don't know if I always appreciate having to be the mouthpiece for them. So maybe you can, if you know anybody who's putting these in mine or Gary's boxes, maybe they can put one in someone else's. But this says Senator, and what I received is a cover letter with 3 documents. One happens to be an Orange County Register article about a lawsuit about sexual harassment here at the campus. Another is the resolution that was seeked to be passed at the last meeting, or had a first read at the last meeting. And then something that I believe was brought up by Language Arts from the debates about the constitutional amendments, is the best I can figure. I'm not quite sure. It says, Senator, do you see a connection somewhere in these 3 documents? The Academic Senate should consider carefully before attaching itself to complaints of alleged misconduct. Problems that stand out are illicit photocopying and distribution of something that was supposed to be secret, sexist rhetorical strategies used by senators, racism, sexism in the Senate. If this federal lawsuit leads to a campus investigation, then all of these documents could possibly raise some questions. Senators should think carefully before publicly and officially embracing another condemnation of their own faculty colleagues. Unsigned, with a request to read during public commentary.
I'm feeling left out. I don't get this.
I'll forward all of them to you.
You go ahead and you can keep it.
Thank you.
Any others for public commentary? Seeing none, let's move on to special reports. Do we have a representative from Associated Students with us?
Yes.
Fantastic. Welcome to Academic Senate. I'm
Thank you.
Delina.
I'm Tanya.
Hi, Tanya.
Nice to meet you.
What do you have for us today?
Absolutely nothing. It's my first time and I had no clue that I was supposed to.
Awesome.
I'm just here to Washington. Yes, ma'am.
Tanya, tell us a little bit
Well,
about
one thing I do want to say, excuse me,
Please.
is next week is Club Rush.
Oh, good.
Please come.
Okay.
Everyone is invited.
18th and 19th?
18th and 19th, 11:30 to 1:30.
Okay.
Both days. Also special elections. I was appointed to the Vice President of Student Organizations last semester, but I will be running for election to be elected into the position next week as well during Club Rush. That's all I got for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. United Faculty, do we have a report?
So something you've probably heard about is about the negotiations. The negotiating team has been underway. UF Chief Negotiator Barbara Marshall, along with her team of Christy Deep, Jennifer Combs, and Phil Mayfield, proposed a 9% increase across all salary schedules. And this proposal was based on the comparability study of 12 districts in our area, which shows we are among the lowest paid according to various benchmarks we have examined. The district has hired an outside firm to conduct their own comparability study, which is a surprise to United Faculty, but to date, their study has not been completed or submitted. Regardless, the district has countered our 9% proposal with the state's COLA, 0.85%, which clearly does not indicate any commitment to comparability. By the way, the cost to the district of a 9% raise is about $4.5 to $5 million. UF will keep faculty apprised as negotiations continue. Second, I'd like to share with you that our latest issue of UF News is now out, and you should be seeing it in your campus mailboxes. In this first issue, you will see in the negotiations update, which doesn't include the latest response from the district since we just got that the other day. You'll also see an article on collegiality and mobbing, as well as information on our upcoming elections. We have elections this year for president, vice president, and various rep council positions across the district. The ones at Cypress include business, CIS, and CTE. That's one representative. One for counseling and fine arts, and then one for health science and PE. So anyone who's a member is eligible to nominate themselves or nominate someone else. And if you're interested, please go to ufnoccccd.org, and you can find the forms there, as well as the candidate statement and information about what it means to be on the rep council. The deadline is February 20th for the nominations. Minimum qualifications. UF has been fielding many inquiries regarding the district's addition of cultural sensitivity to the minimum qual section of job flyers. Board Policy Section 3000, Policy Number 3004, 9.0 Initial Screening dictates that all applicants must be pre-screened for minimum quals. Originally, these minimum quals included the completeness of the application as well as any degrees. By the district adding in cultural sensitivity, it's left many hiring committees expressing concern as to how to pre-screen for cultural sensitivity. One, there's no way to collect data since the application does not include a box to be checked whether or not you are culturally sensitive. Second, it oversteps the boundaries of what the state recognizes through Title V of what minimum quals are, which are based on content expertise, not on cultural sensitivity. So the United Faculty Executive Board feels that there should be some official clarification from the district about pre-screening for minimum quals. The National Education Association is holding elections for Board of Directors, and the former Senate and UF President, Fola Ogbunmi, who's also an economics professor here at Cypress and currently treasurer for CCA, is running for the NEA's Board of Directors, and UFE Board has endorsed and supports Fola, and we wish her luck in gaining that position. It's the board that actually votes for her, but I wanted to share with you that one of our own is moving up hopefully to the national level. And lastly, our next meeting of the United Faculty Rep Council is on Wednesday, February 25th.
right across from us here in Complex 419 from 3 to 5 p.m., and all faculty are welcome to attend. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, staff development. What do you have for us, ma'am?
Well, let's see. Our first new faculty seminar was held on Wednesday, February 10th, so it was a good turnout. The discussion was retirement, and that was meant to help people prepare, for the long haul. So we want to thank United Faculty for coming also and giving a brief introduction and supplying some food, and they will come back perhaps next month or the month after to have a longer discussion with the new faculty. And also, we invited Diane Henry to come talk about what her experience was in actually retiring. So I think there were a lot of questions were asked, and it was an interesting day, and Schools First was there also. So anyway, it's a good introduction. We will have our next meeting March 10th, and we're inviting other faculty besides brand new ones. If you want to get to know the new people, or you're interested in possibly being a mentor to a new faculty person, we're getting all our ducks in a row because, of course, in the fall we'll have 18 new faculty, and we'll need to be really prepared with a good seminar program for them. Let's see. Our committee is looking at continuing to visualize what staff development can accomplish, what we should be accomplishing, and one of the things we're looking at is changing our name to professional development instead of staff development, because that seems to be what the new trend is in all the information we get from the state. Mary and I will be attending a 4CSD staff development conference in Ontario, and we're inviting some of our other committee members to go too, because we're trying to educate ourselves on, on what's happening statewide in staff development. We're also, you've probably received the funding application for spring 2015, so we made a few changes there. We're trying to broaden out the interest for faculty to apply. With limited funds in the past years, we've gotten just a small group who apply because they need to go to conferences because of accreditation or what have you. So we'd like to invite classified and certificated people to consider that funding is not as much of an issue as it was, and we'd like to get a wider range of people applying. However, we're also looking at some other models of funding, like putting a cap on the amount of funds a person could expect to get within an academic year. I know some colleges have like a $1,500 amount total, so you could apply several times, but that would perhaps give sort of a level playing field for other people who don't normally apply to get some funds. And then there would be perhaps an amount for classified people as well. So we're looking at that. So we're continuing to revise our process for funding. The next deadline for funds is Thursday, February 19th. So keep that in mind. We have a couple other staff development activities. Some of these are district activities. Friday, February 20th, there's a Universal Design for Learning workshop from 9 to 12 in our TLC. That's put on by the district staff development. And there are 24 spaces, and I think 21 of them are filled. So I don't know whether that's with our people or people from the other campus. But keep in mind, for district staff development activities, you're welcome to go. If it's Fullerton that's having the activity, you're welcome to go to Fullerton and sign up for it. So district staff development is getting pretty busy. They are also, district staff development is also going to pay for a woman named Angela Hoppy Nagao, who is faculty member at Cal State Fullerton and also Cerritos College. She does a series of workshops on cultural intelligence. And I don't know exactly what that is yet, so we are going to have a phone conference with her on Wednesday, February 25th at 3:30. If you are interested in learning about what that might be and participating in the pre-planning session, if you're interested in diversity and cultural intelligence, I'm assuming there might be a way that we can relate it to addressing the achievement gap and other things that are of importance on this campus. Feel free to contact me and we'll make a space for you. But you'll be hearing more about that as time goes on. It will probably be a series of workshops and customized to what Cypress College wants to have done. So that's happening. The planning meeting is February 25th. Thursday, March 5th, I'm putting in a plug for Mary Foreman because she is the co-coordinator of staff development, but this is actually a diversity sponsored event, a filming of the, or a screening of the film Girl Rising for International Day of the Girl. We'd like to encourage you to have your students come, and that is on March 5th. So I'm handing out flyers that you can give to your students or keep for yourself. And again, that's sponsored by the Diversity Committee. March 24th, Tuesday, is the strategic conversation, and we're hosting it here at Cypress College. It'll be in the theater lobby, refreshments at 3:30, and the program starts at 4:30. You guys have already received more than one email probably from the district and also from our president's office inviting you to participate. The subject of discussion is student equity. And you can sign up via the board website, or if you've saved the email from Ty from the president's office, you can sign up. But I'd like to encourage you to be a part of that. And I think that's enough for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, seriously, thank you, Peggy and Mary, for taking on this incredible obligation. Later on in our agenda, you'll notice that we have a staff development coordinator position agendized, so I'll leave my comments for then. Curriculum committee, Mark Majarian.
I have,
No report?
no, sure.
No, we've got a lot.
Okay. My colleague and your invaluable colleague, Jenny Hurley's here, also my invaluable colleague, who is our systems specialist, Donna Landis is here, so we have two guests that are going to assist me. I need assistance. Before I run over to turn this off, because I'm a little nervous about getting the file up for you to watch, Jenny's going to talk a little bit about where we are with the ADTs.
Okay.
She's going to improvise for me a little.
I will. Well, Mark gets ready. So, hi, I'm Jenny Hurley. I'm the articulation officer here on the campus and part of the curriculum committee. And real quickly, we wanted to just share a little bit of positive news that is happening in curriculum. And I think most of you are probably familiar with what associate degree for transfers are, ADTs. But there's a law, SB 1440, that says that community colleges have to develop these transfer degrees to encourage students to streamline them moving into the CSU system specifically. So we just want to share with you that we are over 100% compliant with the ADTs that need to be developed, that we're currently offering 19 ADTs. You can see a list of them on the college catalog on the website or in the catalog, but we do have 2 more that were just board approved, and they're headed to the chancellor's office now for fall 2015, hopefully. And there's Spanish and journalism ADTs, so you should see those that are being offered soon. And then we have 2 more that are just about to go to the district curriculum committee, and those are chemistry and film, television, and electronic media. So as articulation officer, I work pretty closely doing the templates that get submitted to the chancellor's office as well as the instruction office, and helping faculty to kind of navigate the transferability of some of the template. And then there are 2 more in development right now that I'm working with faculty on, and so you'll hear more about those, but biology and economics are also ADTs that are in development. So it's just exciting to be one of the community colleges, I think, that are offering as many as we do. I don't have the exact stats, but we're definitely one of the top in the state that we have a lot of ADTs. And that's really good news for students, which is what we want. But if you have any questions at any point about them, please let me know.
Are there any additional ADT templates that are coming down that we need to be aware of?
Well, a handful of them just came out, and the only ones that are applicable to our campus that we actually have programs are in development. So biology just came out, chemistry just came out, and film, television, electronic media. And we took the initiative on that with the faculty, so those are already in stages of either development or being approved currently. So there's actually none that we could offer that were not in some stage of either already offered or in development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Mark, are you ready for us?
And thanks all the faculty members in the room that worked laboriously with Jenny to achieve that, so that's great. All right, so I've got 3 curriculum chairs in the room besides me, past chairs, so jump in and help me, assist me as needed to clarify what this is. These are administrative procedures relative to the district, and this basically relates to how the district curriculum committee operates, our procedures for operation and curriculum review, the guidelines that we follow. So we've had an update of this, and I want to share this with you. She's so good at this, my buddy. What would I do without her? So we emailed this out to you. Jennifer Combs, I can't say how great it's been for me to collaborate with my chair over at Fullerton. A lot of this language also emanates from her efforts primarily, and then me chiming in as well with her. She and I discussed this. And one of the areas where we see some growth, which is in the red, right? These are Jennifer's suggestions, is to make the overriding thing in Jennifer's concern, my concern was A, we're including school continuing ed, and 2, that we, in these amendments, we make sure that we also, while making clear those distinctions of being 2 college campuses, we also reaffirm our willingness to collaborate together, but at the same time that our curriculum can have distinctions, that we don't have to be exactly the same in terms of, you know, our coursework. There can be differentiations between the 2 campuses, that there is some autonomy with the 2 curriculum committees with their individual campus, meeting the campus instructional needs, while at the same time, obviously, seeking comparability where it's possible, where anywhere it benefits students and it is possible in terms of courses and programs, and also obviously addressing Title V requirements and chancellor's requirements. So this is it, and you're seeing strikeouts and changes, and Brian Stilling, bless his heart, emailed this out to you when I said to Terry, can you make a bunch of colored copies?
Mark?
Yes, just I'm almost
Let's
done.
go back to that program
Yeah.
to go for a minute.
Okay, and can I finish one last thing? The reason why we didn't print it out is because it's a lot of ink, in terms of color copy. Go ahead.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Under program review 2.1,
Yeah.
it talks about at least every 6 years to have a program review. I thought that was being discussed and had been decided whether it was going to be 3 years or 6 years or whatever. Am I wrong, or is that something we decided?
I'll defer to the program review chair, but no, Cypress College does use a 3-year review cycle, but I believe that you folks.
We are talking about changes.
And that's
Okay,
it.
but this sounds like it's a done deal, that's what I want to do.
It's referring to, you have to by the state, is requiring you to do it every 6 years. We've, it's not the state?
No, according to something, he said that it's periodic review, and then the way they came up with 6 years is that that's when accreditation was. So now they're extending accreditation to 7 years. So we could change, it's my understanding we could change that 6 years. So
I don't have a problem, I just want to know that
It's
that's
interesting,
not
I
something
really
yet.
appreciate this feedback, so I'm not, you know, so in other words, that's something I'm gonna have to maybe talk to you about
Yeah.
and see how we wanna
Yeah.
massage that so it's not exclusionary, but at the same time is open enough to allow for variance between the 2 campuses. Yeah.
Because I asked for the actual state mandate, and what Santagu said is there is,
Yeah.
no, it just says periodic.
Interesting, so I'll note that. Question mark, okay, it's good, yeah, thank you, Jesse. Jesse read it. Bless your heart. Okay, and I'm just gonna scroll through this. And again, it's just based on the original draft, but expanding it. And I was vested by the DCCC to go, and Jennifer too, to bring this back to you, and we brought this by the curriculum committee, so they've seen it. And as I said, we can email this out again. Obviously, we make some distinctions here. In other words, it was really important for Jennifer and for me to say not just district, but Cypress College, Fullerton, and SCE, to sort of reinforce the idea that as much as we work collaboratively, we were also distinct in some of our needs. Institutional uniqueness, you see that phrase. And then to reinforce in consultation with academic senates, right? that you are conferred with. I should put my glasses on. Additional meetings may be called by the Vice Chancellor Chancellor, Educational Service Technology, at the request of the Campus Academic Senates or Campus Administration. Staff members are welcome to attend meetings. I mean, some of this is fairly boilerplate, is not terribly debatable. Maybe, maybe not.
Mark, has the curriculum committee had a discussion of these proposed revisions and do they support it?
They did.
So are you asking Senate for a
Asking
motion?
for the sense of the Senate with this, that you're, I mean, again, I have to defer to my senators who are very experienced here, and I'm deferring to Pat, because again, I'm on a still a learning curve, even though it's the second term for me. Pat, do we need to help me with this?
I think you're better off with a motion to approve, because the curriculum committee has approved it, but they don't have the ultimate
That's what I'm
authority
thinking.
on the consideration
We can't do
of
that.
the issues.
We can't do that, because this is the first time we're seeing it.
Then-
And because what we need is a sense of the Senate here, that's all you can give them. And your sense of the Senate should be, we would give you something more formalized if we had more time. Because he's giving this tomorrow. This is being presented tomorrow, am I correct?
No. Well, we go to DCCC next week,
Okay.
at the end of next week.
We have an extra week, but of course, we don't have a meeting in this week. And there's nothing that we can do as a formal motion to accept anything on this, because this is the first time we're seeing it.
I recognize
We
that.
can't support this.
Yeah, so Brian, the only thing I need some direction from you and Jolene or from the Senate is this. I mean, obviously I can get a sense of what you think. You can also wait, I could go back to my DCCC, I'm just trying to work this out. I could go back to the DCCC and say I need another, turn of the chapter for them to look at it and vote on it. And what I don't know and I don't understand is whether this actually has to be a voted thing or we just get the sense of the Senate and it just becomes a, you know.
Let's see if there are any questions from the senators regarding any of the proposed revisions that Mark might be able to clarify. Yes, ma'am.
Well, when we took it to curriculum, it was tabled, and it wasn't, we wanted a week to
Yeah,
look at it
that's
also.
right.
But however,
don't
since
check-
then, I took it to Jennifer because I was in a meeting with her, and there are a few changes that she said that you didn't have the latest
Oh, okay. I
updated
didn't
copy.
hear about that.
So I want to put that out there, first of all, because it was just a few words, because I asked her about that. But I think that needs to come forward to you first.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
haven't seen those.
Yeah, and they were just a few words. I mean, I don't think the Senate, I don't think the curriculum committee had any problem with the language, but we did want to review it, and we had tabled it until the following meeting.
So our curriculum committee has not taken action on this yet?
Just to table it.
Okay.
So this is what I would suggest. I think it's important that I get your feedback as I did with Jesse. We will be meeting next week. I don't see it as being controversial for us at the committee level. I'm happy to have the Senate, if they wish, take a motion to accept it. It seems to me it's going to ultimately affect our procedures at the district level. We are a subcommittee of the Senate. You've seen it. Is there any other feedback that you can give me at this point in time? And
Other than I would maybe change the 6 years to periodic.
yeah, you and I have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Give me a suggested wording so we don't eat up the time now, and you and I will bring that
Okay.
back, because you and I will confer about that. Is there any other questions about it?
I
Jesse,
can't
please.
I find the DCCC membership who they are, but I don't
Can you
see
give me
that for
where?
our own.
Where are you referring?
In other words, in
Page 5.
6.33,
Uh-huh.
page 3,
Yeah.
talks about who's going to be there.
6.33.
And I'm just not sure that we've shown what each college's makeup is going to be.
That's a good point.
In terms of the membership?
Yes,
of each of-
membership, yeah. And the reason I bring it up at all is because I noticed that on page 3, they have Vice Chancellor of Education.
Yeah.
And he is non-voting, which is good.
Yeah.
But there was a controversy way back when there was concern that one of our administrators, I forget who it was dictating to our curriculum committee some things we felt wasn't correct. And that's why I want to know who is going to be there, and what is his role? Is he non-voting, voting, or whatever?
And so all you're saying, just to simplify it, is you would like a clear delineation of who the active voting members are. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it can always be gas. That gets too crazy. But you're talking about the active voting members, membership. Okay.
Are there any other questions for Mark? Yes, Craig.
Yeah. With the size and the scope of our programs and our curriculum increasing potentially with mortuary science and their baccalaureate program, I would suggest that curriculum sit down with the mortuary science folks to make sure that the language in this document does not have the potential to slow down the adoption of that program in the future, right? I mean, I don't.
On the face of it looks like it's okay, but I have no problem conferring.
Yeah, because I don't know if there's anything in here that would
the fun
cause
part-
problems with them,
The
but.
fun part is I asked Michelle Grimes-Hillman, who is our State Academic Senate Curriculum Chair, where are we with that? Where's the protocol or the criteria to move forward? She said, we don't have it yet. So, yeah, it's a good idea. I'm just saying, at this point, I'm a little bit in the dark about even the criteria. But I know Jolene is very vested in this, and I'm supposed to go, she told me, to some monthly meetings to begin to be educated. I've got to find the humor, Pat, or I'll get too stressed out.
Are there any other questions for Mark? I believe this will be coming back after the
Yeah, so I
curriculum committee.
appreciate all of you giving me time to do this, so that I don't think it's that rushed, that we can't wait. We still have an existing policy, so I appreciate that, everybody. So quickly, the next thing I want to bring up, which may be a little more controversial, is, which I know you all love, which is curriculum submittal guidelines. So what I'm going to do, so I can have a drink of water, I'm going to defer to Donna Landis, who does a tremendous amount of work for all of us and all of you, and so does Terry, in terms of, as a systems specialist for curriculum committee, to submit curriculum to the state. Can we talk a little bit?
Well, that's a surprise. I didn't know. I'm never at a loss for words. Anybody knows?
I think when you say controversial, it's really not controversial. What it is, you all have noticed in the last couple of years, there's been so many changes with the state and what their recommendations are, strong recommendations are, and the way that we have to approve our courses. And in doing that, we've had to adjust some of the way we've done business. And what happens now is that in order to offer a course, we have to have what's called a control number. And a control number really is our submittal to the state. It started many years ago. We sent all the courses up and they said, oh, it looks good. We didn't have to put any information with it. Now, as senators and all are asking for, they're asking for more accountability with our courses. So what started out a couple years ago that we had to say all of our courses are in our catalog. Now they're saying now they have to have certain elements for MIS recording. Now we're having to look and they're actually approving what our course outlines are as opposed to what the course actually is. There's several of you who have been involved with the changes in how we've had to do hours versus unit value. And it's always been on the books for years. It just never was enforced. So now it's being enforced through the state and we're required to submit this information. In order to do that, we're able to, what we're coming up against is we're coming across deadlines that cause us not to be able to offer the courses that you're currently doing the way we're doing it in curriculum. So what we've had to look at, and Fullerton's been on the bandwagon for a year, we were hoping we could be the holdouts and get through the process, but we're finding it increasingly impossible, is this year we don't have a lot of program review courses that need to come through, and we're thinking that this is the best transition period.
They've done such a wonderful job, right, Donna?
Exactly.
You've done all such a wonderful job, there isn't as much cleanup as there, and as many tsunamis as we used to have.
And having said that, there are some that do need to be cleaned up because it has been quite a while, but it's manageable. The lists that we have are manageable. Terry's put them together, who's been a great asset in helping us to decide these. We've looked at it's kind of like you guys. You look at your last day of school and you back out and you see how you have to proceed along the way. Well, that's what we've had to do. And this year will be kind of a crunch. We're hoping that those courses that we put on the list will be able to be worked on before the 27th of March of this year. Those would be able to be in the catalog and available for instruction, not this fall, but the following fall. And then we're going to kind of back off a little bit, and we're able to get on the deadline that we really are going to be able to follow for the next few years as we see right now it's going to work. And the courses, I believe, Mark, I'm not positive, didn't we say it was a year from March? So we've got quite a bit of time, and the timeline's right up in front here.
I'm gonna read Kevin's statement just quickly to all of you, because it's a distillation of what my colleague Don was saying. Now, mind you, there's been some problems staffing. There's been, at the systems office, there's not a huge number of people up there. That's part of the challenge. We hear different numbers, but I've heard the number when I was at the Career Tech Education Academy, which was in Anaheim, 11 people. So part of it is just them being able to, to assign, and the term, a control number to the course, so that so once it goes to us, curriculum committee, right? Then it goes to DCCC, then it goes to the board, right? Then it has to go to the systems office. But that course, in a sense, does not exist if it's a new course or a major revision of course, a major new revision of a course, until it gets a control number. And until it gets that control number, you can't offer it in the catalog or the scheduled classes. And they're getting much more, obviously, strict about that. They have been always pretty careful about that. So let me read this statement. Due to changes at the state regarding curriculum approval timelines and requirements, it is necessary for us to adjust the submission timelines on our campus. Listed below is the best scenario and most accommodating for all to achieve this ambitious effort. Keeping in mind that the time needed to get through the approval process of our curriculum committee, DCCC, board, and state, these revised timelines will expedite all the approvals necessary for our submitted curriculum to be offered. So for this, where we are right now this spring, we're proposing courses, programs effective fall 2016, courses listed as approved 2010 or earlier, meaning that we're only proposing at this point that you attend to those courses that are 2010 or earlier. Must be pre-launched in CurriculumNet now until March 27, 2015. Must be launched in CurriculumNet by June 30, 2015. Now, mind you, I've looked at the list of courses as Donna has, and Terry has, and some of the reps have. And if it's 2010 or earlier, in most cases, in most divisions, in most disciplines, aren't that many courses. So I know you're going like March 27th. Wow. I've been of assistance. I helped Joe Gallo, has been out on medical. I helped him last year. I'm always willing to help. You know what I mean? And of course, I was a little more comfortable, made me a co-contributor because I was in at least the division. But you can get your rep to help you, perhaps, be a co-contributor to speed up that process. And I usually look just for technical issues, like Sheree has done, where I see a blank field, in the master database, and try to clarify those kinds of things, or remind them they have to update the textbook. You know what I mean? I don't usually put in my textbook for somebody else, but you know what I'm saying? The obvious little things, or a spelling thing, or a formatting thing, I can help you. If that's a problem, you can always call me. Sheree's a past chair. Peggy's a past chair. So DCCC at board, October 9th for board approval, November 10th. Board memo to Cypress College President by October 23rd, 2015. DCCC approved November 13th for board approval, December 8th, 2015. Board agenda memo due to the President's office by November 18th. So if we could jump on some of these older courses now, then what we'd like to do for next year, which is what Fullerton's been doing, which has been allowing them to get things to the catalog more quickly, is this. You have an open period in the fall and for pre-launch. And in that open period of the fall, you're working on your courses. Then you have to pre-launch them, in this case, coming up. You have this pre-launch period of September 15th to February 5th, but they launch in the middle of the spring. Now, what is the benefit of that? The benefit is if you pre-launch by February 5th, it allows my committee to go through tech review during the spring. You see what I'm thinking, Sheree? We go through tech review in the spring like Fullerton does. And we help you clean it all up. Then you have some time to look at those requirements, and then you have time to launch it. So by fall, instead of the curriculum committee going through tech review, we're simply agendizing and passing courses up. Does that make you understand the logic I'm thinking of, Sheree? That we're just simply agendizing, Peggy, Sheree, the courses for vote to go to DCCC.
Would that require the committee to start meeting every Tuesday in the spring?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to meet more often in the spring because we're going through tech review. But do you see what I'm saying, the logic? Because you guys don't like to do the stuff during the summer anyway.
Mark, is this for all curriculum, courses, and programs, or only those being revised or reviewed during the program review cycle?
Well, I mean,
It's for all.
what we're suggesting for this immediate March 27th deadline would be 2010 and earlier, and anything obviously we would be a little bit more liberal and accepting, but really trying to make that March 27th deadline unless we have a good reason for an exception for new courses or you know, I guess a new program or certificate. But we'd really like to keep this March 27th deadline going. You know, and what we're trying to do, Donna and I, is make it easier for you by saying in this cycle, can we just hold our breath for a moment, just do 2010 and earlier, and then you have the next cycle to adjust to, you know?
Is it possible the next cycle may be adjusted on the timeline? The reason why I ask is I noticed down below for courses and programs effective fall 2017, which is the requirement under the legislation of SB 850 for our baccalaureate program. That means faculty would need to draft all of the curriculum this fall.
Yeah, so I'm going to address that.
Okay.
Yes, that thought occurred to me. Because I talked to Michelle Crimes-Hillman, you know, you remember I told you 3 weeks ago, what are we doing for this? What's the criteria? How am I doing this? I presume we're all going to have to be kumbaya and generous to this exceptional opportunity for the baccalaureate program, you know, to allow them a time frame that's, you know, achievable because they're going from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, just saying, think of the benefits of this, and I don't mind being critiqued on it, but understand what our logic, right, Peggy, Sheree, is that we think that this is going to make this easier because the tech review process happens in the spring. So we're not just, because right now in the spring we meet every other week. And then what happens is instead of doing that, we could actually be getting really the more important work done. And it's very hard for the curriculum committee in the fall to do tech review with everything else that we have to do and pass the courses on the agenda and get them to the, and get back to you if we have a problem with, you know, the way a course is. And it's hard for you to confer with colleagues if there's technical problems with your course outline of record. It'd be much easier to do it in the spring and then just simply agenda the courses for a vote in the fall. Donna.
You know, Jelena, to address that, I talked with Glenn the other day, and we know
I'm sorry, you
that this is extenuating circumstances with yours. You guys have already done such a great job. You have most of the courses already.
Can I stop you there? I'm not concerned about us. We're good to go. I'm talking about our gen ed faculty on the other side of campus.
And when we talk about that, we'll accommodate whatever we can. But I guess it's the most important part is to know that it's timely, where we used to be able to get things in at the last minute and try and get them through, and we were ready to go. We're not able to do that anymore because of the steps that we're at that we don't have control over. And, you know, Terry does a great job of getting as much as she can on the agenda so we can get them through to get to the catalog and, you know, produce it. But, you know, things that are out of our control, we're trying to get more, so at the last minute, we're not working so hard. You know, the work is not hard, it's the sitting and waiting. But you guys have done a great job, and those courses are already ready to go.
Okay, so Mark, we have a new degree that we're gonna do, new courses, new certificates. So they would have to be done by March 27th. I'm gonna ask that it's at the end of spring break so that I can work on it during spring break. So I would ask that you move it to at least April 5th.
So could we do this?
Yeah.
Because again, the goal of that deadline on the 27th has to do with DCCC system steps and getting it to the board, which, you know, it can't be changed. So you can always request through your rep or to me, or usually through the rep, that's the more, rep and me, for an exception. But the problem is if we don't attach ourselves to these deadlines, because of the way the board functions, the board meetings in DCCC, and when they fall, pushing it forward is not going to do us any good.
The other concern I have is this.
In other words, you'll be okay, but you may not get it as vested in the time frame that the others, of course, will, because they get in earlier. I mean, it'll still move forward, but it'll move forward more slowly.
Okay, but
There's no way to get around that.
It's for a grant that has to be, the classes have to be in effect by the fall 2016. So then would I have to get them in by the 27th? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, you know,
I
I
did
don't
need to
think
for
we've
my
ever
buddy.
been so steadfast, we say no just for saying no.
I know.
I guess what she's worried about, can we get it to
And
the
I can
systems
say
office?
you are exceptionally good as well, as making sure that your stuff gets in, is correct. And when you need to launch it, as soon as things get back to you, you launch them. And that's what we're having some issue with, is a lot of times faculty will let them sit for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time, and then at the last minute is when things happen. So what we're trying to do is make it so that you're allowed enough time to get that through the system. But Kathleen, we've worked well with you, with your switches.
Yeah, so here's what, I don't want to get too, into too many stories because you have a lot to do today, but I'm just saying, when you get a government message saying, it's been through tech review, now you clean it up, if you sit on that, that creates tremendous problems for us. I cannot tell you the problems. It's like you're supposed to have 10 working days, and it makes problems for you because the longer you wait, the less likelihood it's going to make it efficiently into the next cycle, into the next, in this case,
Is everything on campus?
for fall 2016.
Are we supposed to disseminate this? Mark, did you hear?
No, we consider this to be something that we feel that, but you can raise an objection to it, and I'm okay. We feel that we've made this decision, we're informing you, and we're getting the sense of the Senate, because we really believe this is the way that it has to function,
In order for it to function efficiently, these are the timelines, the best laid timelines we can come up with and get the
to assist
information.
you. Oh, Jenny, did you want to say anything quickly about the G articulations?
Really briefly, just that,
Delve into this.
just that this will help. When I submit things for GE, we've had some issues with classes that aren't going through quick enough, and then I can't submit them to the reviewers for GE status for CSU and UC. And we had a couple examples this year where now that class has to wait a whole nother year, and so that's obviously not as good for the student. So just supporting the timelines from the articulation perspective, that both the GE and also because of the ADTs, there's different course submissions that have to happen to the CAD website before it goes to the chancellor's office, blah, blah, blah. But the point being that, again, it does impact our articulation as well, and this timeline would definitely help with that, despite the growing pains of this year, which will be okay. We'll do
In
it.
this sense, is my colleague, Brandon referred to, really not coming here for simply the sense of the Senate, unless you want to intervene in that decision. Because this has to do with the operation of what we do. And we're the ones in the trenches, right? For you, and you are too, actually.
So, Mark, are you asking us to take this back to our divisions and query them on?
My rep's supposed to do that.
Okay.
For the curriculum reps.
Reps done that in the curriculum committee and brought back concerns?
I haven't seen them. I'm seeing them next meeting, which is Tuesday.
This rep, it's been mailed to the
Okay.
curriculum, and the dean, it's been put out.
I just think it's gonna work better for you. I mean, it's never gonna be perfect, but I think this will work better for you. If we can do the tech review in the spring, it's gonna be so much better for you.
So then this is just an information item if you're going to be querying the divisions via the reps?
Sense of the Senate.
Okay.
That's why my colleague, buddy.
So are there any other questions for Mark regarding the timeline? If you have any other concerns, I would encourage you to contact your curriculum rep and voice your concern to the rep so the rep can have it during the conversation in curriculum.
And where do you know me?
Okay. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Academic Senate Treasurer's Report.
I know we approved some funding, but I haven't been asked to actually go deliver a check to anybody.
All right. So is that no report?
No report.
Thank you, ma'am. Cypress College Foundation.
The foundation is gearing up for the Americana Awards on February 28th. At 6 o'clock is the silent auction, and then the ceremony starts at 7, and I'm passing around some information on that for you so that you have it. Apparently, we have a big raffle prize. It's a Yamaha ATV, and they're selling raffle tickets to that. They're limiting the number. For our student scholarships. So we encourage you to attend if you can, or buy a ticket.
last I heard, we had 471 tickets sold for the dinner. Our goal is 560. So we're a little short of that. So if any of you can I see how many people have gone to this before? Okay, it is a wonderful event. I've gone to it several times, and it is a first-class event. And the dinner is always good, and the ceremony is great. The silent auction is a lot of fun. All sorts of gifts and trips and baskets and items for silent auction. So it's a lot of fun. If you would like the opportunity, you can see Laura Stevens in the foundation office and get a ticket. They're $225 per person, which I know is a lot. But again, it's for our scholarships, and the event is wonderful, very nice. So, thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Basic Skills Committee.
Assuming all goes well with the president's report and the appointments, you will have a new faculty basic skills co-chair starting after today that I'm very excited about, but we'll talk about that when that comes. So this is should be officially my last meeting as your liaison for the BSI committee. But one thing I would like to share in that capacity is an action that we're taking this semester to investigate the stopping out of students out of their sequence of courses and why. And by that I mean that in the fall, let's say they took their math 20, and spring they didn't sign up for math. And the same thing with the English sequence or the ESL sequence. So we're finalizing a short survey that will be electronic, that all of the faculty teaching in those basic skills areas can email to their student email group and ask them to click on that survey. Let us know, were you enrolled last semester? If you were, great, you go into this spreadsheet for us. If you say no, then we have some further questions for you can help us understand why. And if we know why, then maybe we can help make a difference as to whether students continuing the sequence in a more timely, efficient manner than they might be.
You call it stopping out? Is that?
Yes.
Stopping out?
We're stopping out.
Thank you.
Anything else? And that's something we're very excited about. It should be out to the basic skills faculty to then spread it to all of their faculty, adjunct and full-time, to get as large a pool of responses as we can to address that. So, that's
Stopping out is a huge phenomenon.
huge.
15 to 20%.
Please.
Don't take the next course.
I lost the question, but when she said that, I thought of myself. I'm saving all my math for last. Then I also was thinking that I might test up, because I got an A in my last math class, but I'm saving them. And I like math. I'm not dredging it. I like math, but I'm saving it all for last.
There is nothing more frightening for a faculty member to hear than someone say, I'm saving math for last.
Gotta focus. Gotta focus.
Got it. Student Learning Outcomes Assessment. What do you have for us?
So I have something. So as Bob mentioned, we had a consultant come and review our outcomes process, how we're doing, where we are as far as being ready for accreditation. And it turns out that we have a whole lot of work to do. So anyway, there's about a 25-page report that our consultant created. I decided to change it into a work plan for our committee to give us a little more structure, and has goals, objectives, measurable outcomes, timeline, responsible persons, so that we can have more of a direction in where we're going and what we need to accomplish. So one of the big recommendations from the consultant was to increase support for our outcomes for our campus. And so what I've passed out to you, and hopefully you've gotten it by now, is a proposal that was created. It basically adds, if you look at the first column, it shows the positions. It's adding an assistant SLO coordinator and classified support. The second column shows what our current support is. And it should be noted that most colleges have 100% a mixture of faculty or one faculty member doing this position, so we have been low for a while. And then the proposed support, which would just be through summer 2016, and it shows basically 0.60 to 0.80 for the coordinator, and then for the assistant 0.20 to 0.40 to make 100%, and then 0.40 classified for a total of 1.40 support. And then in the fall of 2016, the assistant coordinator would then, hopefully by then we have a well-oiled machine that's running forward, and we won't need an assistant, and we can then bring down the coordinator as well, or maybe say the same if it's 6.60. So I listed the faculty duties and the classified duties. We kind of had a rush to get this put together because we just got the report, but anyway, so I brought it to the SLO committee yesterday, and they had met with our consultant last semester, and then we reviewed the work plan that I created based on his recommendations, and they were very supportive of increasing the support for the outcomes. A lot of it's based on the amount of work that needs to be done, but also the amount of support that our faculty need to get this job done, because we all, a lot of faculty feel that it's a lot to be doing and a difficult process. So if there's more support, hopefully that will facilitate more completion of SLOs and PLOs, and hopefully someday ILO assessments, and so that's what we're looking at doing. So, but it should be mentioned that the committee felt, why is it 6 to 8 and 2 to 4? Why can't it just be 8 and 4? Because they feel like that there's so much support that's needed. So they were wanting more support for this short period of time to get things moving. And their feeling was, the more support we have, the quicker we'll get up to speed. And so anyway, so I'm here to present this to you all, and I guess Bob is aware of the plan and supportive of the plan, and supportive of whatever, basically wants to know what you all would recommend, and so he's looking for a vote. I know we can't do a vote today, but he's looking for a vote.
So is it the recommendation of the SLO committee that we would take the maximums on the proposed support to 0.8 for the coordinator, 0.4 for the assistant coordinator?
Yeah, and being, it's the amount of work, but really I do feel that, as a faculty member myself, I feel it is a big undertaking, and to get all the data put into TrackDAT, which is a difficult thing to do anyway, because it's a kind of a difficult mechanism, so, or however you're doing your records.
I think we have some questions for you.
This is the report from Dr. Lee, right?
Yes.
He interviewed, I interviewed with him a little bit also last semester, and it was eye-opening for me, and I think for him too, where I got the impression that this was going to come, which made a lot of sense because it did seem necessary, particularly because it seems like we weren't doing them right. And there's a greater level of expectation as to what the accreditation team wants. I got the sense that what they wanted us to do the first time was set it up, and now we have to actually do it. And what's really very apparent to that is that doing it now is not what doing it was. And it's a decidedly different beast. It's actually it's the realization of the fear a lot of people had of a Trojan horse. It's come in this nice thing, and now it's all coming out. I explained to him exactly what I did and told him that I thought it was crap, and he agreed with me. And that it was sort of a systematic thing that's taking place, not that this is going to help on one level for sure, because you guys got a bear of a problem that you're doing, but it's got to be addressed at my level. We got to have something that's retraining me how to do it, retraining a lot of people how to do it. Because even the language we were using, I kept telling him it was slows and cats. He's like, why do you keep talking about cats? I like cats. But I said, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. And he says, a cat is something you do in elementary school. It gives you one little thing. Did you learn this? And there's much more things that you're doing. It was a much more involved process, which actually addressed one level, which was the data that we get from this, typically the way we do it now, is crap. There's nothing that we can do with it. And it's actually sounding, at least, like they want to go to a level where they really want to try to get that robust data. But boy, that's going to be much more work than we had anticipated. That's the sense you got?
Yeah, I think when I came into the position, I just started to learn a lot and look
look at other colleges and go to different workshops and talk to people, and I just felt like it was very different what we're doing than other people, and I thought, I was concerned. And I think one thing is, I think, yeah, we do need to relook at everything. I think a lot of colleges, their SLO process is just very streamlined. It's just part of what they do every semester anyway, and it's not complicated. And I think one mistake we did was we really tried really hard to create these really great, SLOs, but they are just really just so much to tackle. And I think most of the colleges that are assessing even every course every semester are very simple, streamlined, easy to do. So I think, and then there's a million other things we need to do. And our whole structure needs to be looked at and make sure that it's what we need to be doing and that we're prepared. There's a lot to do.
Was there another question?
Yeah, so I'm an FDRG reviewer for theater, and I can say that some of the SLOs are very streamlined, and the odd thing about it is they don't seem to be any more effective in collecting data other than being really simple to do. I mean, it's like, throwing a Post-it up on the wall. So, yeah, I'd be happy, and I think it's great to increase support for this. I'm fully behind you. This is the thing I want to say to this. As bad as CurricuNet is, as the first version of Windows, which is pretty much uses a software program, it does at least give you a context to populate fields much more effectively than TrackDat does. In other words, we all know, and those of you that work in these areas on web-based programs, there are ways to speed this process up, and TrackDat is a terrible web-based program. And there are ways in which you can populate text that's boilerplate very rapidly through checkboxes. I don't need to tell you all this. That could be really effective, because what I'm worried about, Cherie, is that we still have to do with curriculum at the same time, and whatever else is coming through the state relative to your curriculum. So track whatever we do. First of all, the two should be integrated, because as you know, what happens, and I've said this before, in our CurricuNet fields, we do have SLOs. But we know that in real time, you're allowed, ostensibly, to change your SLOs from semester to semester. But if your course doesn't change over 3 or 4 years, and you still have the same old SLOs, you may have be using different SLOs actually in practice than what's in CurricuNet. So really, there should be one integrated platform that, or at least 2 web-based programs that can talk to each other, that updates that information. And we've got to find some other alternative to TrackDat that would quickly populate fields where you don't have to be an original author of every word and comment, and it's done quickly. And that can migrate that information into an ILO report and integrate it. There's got to be a way to do it. We should get the guys from Amazon.com to create this for us. And then they have little windows that come up and say, oh, you forgot to do that, and a little smiley face, and get it done. And then I think you get the faculty to do that. So I know Sarah's heard me pontificate about this before. She knows me and likes me, puts up with me. It would be just great if they would put the investment, and I know I'm hearing them say we can't afford Amazon software engineers. But it's not going to get done if we don't find something other than what we've got. And it's got to be an integrated platform. It has to integrate somehow with CurricuNet.
Did you notice, Mark, on the proposal that the classified first bullet assists faculty in inputting data into TrackDat?
That will help.
Yeah.
That will help. But TrackDat is a bear. It's a monster.
Yeah, this would essentially be
limping-
the faculty going to this classified person and the classified person putting it in. So then we would have consistency across the
But it
input.
doesn't integrate with CurricuNet.
No, it does not.
That, to my understanding, that's how I did it last time. I sent it to Barbara Woolner, she put it in. I did put a few in and then.
I'm done.
We don't have weeks support like that anymore.
I know, and so if it comes back to me, it's gonna be bad.
Well, that's the thing. It is true, because there is, if you have someone who's using TrackDat every day doing, or whatever we decide to do. TrackDat tried to partner with CurricuNet, and they wouldn't partner with them. That's a whole other thing. But I think that if we have someone doing it every day, then it's easy to do, because you learn it and you know it. I will tell you, I walk away from TrackDat during the break for 2 weeks. I come back and I have to learn the whole thing again, because it's very not user-friendly, and it's everything that is your instinct is the opposite, pretty much. So you start to just do the opposite after a while. But I think that whatever we have, we just need more help. So.
And that's what this proposal would provide for the SLOs, is more help.
The SLOs, the PLOs, and the
ILOs.
outcomes.
Kathleen,
Yeah, so in program review, one of our questions has been some faculty aren't doing SLOs. So what we're going to identify is, okay, we did 15 programs. These are the ones that did submit SLOs. These are the ones that didn't, and allow you guys to make a decision based on that. But my real big concern here is the amount of hours that faculty have put into doing SLOs, and we're guessing at what we're supposed to be doing. And that's really fundamentally wrong. And we should be getting more direction from either the state or the accrediting body before we do another massive effort at kind of guessing at what is supposed to be expected. And I know that maybe Dr. Lee is trying to flesh that out, but I'd really like to see concrete, here's an example of what we're looking for, here's what the result is, and this is why we're doing it.
When we had this meeting, Sarah and I were both at it, and I was surprised with the gap analysis report, because I thought we were doing fantastic with SLOs, because I was led to believe that. But I had mentioned that we might want to model what the CTE and health science programs are doing, because they are so effective at their assessments and their student learning outcomes. They have it down because their national and state accrediting agencies have really tightened it up for them. Our accrediting agency will not give us direction on what it has to be, only whether or not we have it.
Okay, the other issue is, that Santanu said that as of February 2012, it had to be every year. So I think faculty doesn't realize that we're not just talking, it would be an ongoing basis. And I don't think one clerical person could do the whole campus. So it would.
This is something that's going to be done for every class, every semester you are doing it. That's the way, it's the only way it can be done. When you talk to them about it, that's what we're going to be doing.
So that's a whole nother. Yes.
Absolutely. Which is why you don't invent cats. You use the thing that you're doing now, and you simply track those things you're doing now to your SLO, and you say, based on these 5 assignments, they are or are not meeting that. It somewhat makes sense, but it's a whole other way of doing it, and it's more work. Yes?
Jesse, did you have a question?
I think we ought to support this, but at the higher levels, the 8 and the 4.0. And also, I think we should include in here the coordinator talking to people to find out the problem, to see if he can do something, maybe go back to the software company and see if they can make some changes that would make it easier to input to this system.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I understand when I'm explaining this to my colleagues. What we've done so far with our SLOs and then assessing them every 3 years or whatever, that's not right? All this that we've done?
And I changed, and yeah, I think that we don't have a lot of consistency across the board. If you look at the SLOs from different places, some of them had some aspects, some don't. It's just everyone's kind of different. Yeah, and so
there's very few PLOs finished.
yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to integrate your SLs with a PLO. You know how many reports there are for program learning outcomes? Very few reports, and that's supposed to have already been accomplished.
Like a lot of the courses are tied to the GE PLO, and that's fine, and that's a model people use, but we aren't doing anything meaningful with that data. It's just there, and so, and that's kind of nothing meaningful happening and discussions not happening kind of trickles through the whole process. So that's kind of the problem that we have, is that we haven't been doing that kind of documentation like we need to, like campus-wide discussions, these things all along. And then also just our whole structure. We're looking at our structure, and I don't want to get into a ton of detail here, because if you really are interested in this, please come to an SLO meeting, because I'd love to have you. We don't have to go into the minutia of it now.
I'm trying to understand, like, a one sentence, what I tell my colleagues about SLOs right now.
I would say that if you continue to do the ones that you are doing now, you will not pass accreditation. That's essentially what Dr. Lee told me. We can't pass accreditation with the way we're doing
With the
it.
SLOs, I mean, so they've looked at every department, every division, or just?
It's a structure, it's a whole structure.
SLO necessarily.
Okay.
It's the structure, and so you have the SLOs, and you have the program learning outcomes, and you have the institutional learning outcomes.
You all have to be integrated.
Right.
Anyways,
Yeah, we've
in
spent
report
time, like, we have to map our SLOs to the PLOs, to the.
We have a lot of, we have just, our structure, I think, just needs to be looked at, revised, and changed, and making sure that we're keeping up with what the standards are. And that's why I felt we needed someone, because we're in a bubble, essentially. You know, we only know what we know in our own college.
So are we just waiting for more information? Like, I'm not sure how we're supposed to proceed at this point.
Well, no, because a lot of the stuff, I understand about the writing of SLOs, but a lot of the things that we need to do actually are things that people who, for example, like Golden West College, they
are not, they went through accreditation and they're not onboarding, and so their structure is a good structure. Let's look at that structure. Maybe it fits here. Let's look at other structures at other colleges. Maybe that fits here, so that we find one that we know worked well, and then we maybe try and model something here that would work better. Kind of, yeah. Anyway, but we're not going to lose what we had. So the work we've done, we can still keep that work, and that's still valuable. But we can maybe make it part of a new plan that is going to be acceptable.
And I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of training with the new system and the new procedures.
And also, I think that people have a very low understanding of how this all works. And we should all know how this all works. So, I didn't know how it worked before I started this job, and I'm still learning, but I think that that's a big problem, because if we don't understand, it should be a system that we all understand how it works, we all understand how it links up, we all get it. But we don't. So I think instead of waiting for accreditation, it would be better to really dig in and figure out how to fix it.
Although it was alluded to, it wasn't passed around. I encourage you folks, if you have not read the gap analysis report and recommendations for our outcome cycle, that's something that you would want to pick up and read. It is a lengthy document to the tune of 24 pages, but it clearly illuminates where we need to make some significant changes, and very quickly.
You know, I don't think it's been made available. It's not my document, it's Phil's, and so I don't know that it's been made, but I don't think he mind sharing. So I didn't bring it with me for that reason, because it's not mine. But this is what I did. I did produce this, which basically is, I think, 6 pages, not 24. And it basically has all the problems and how we're going to fix it. So I can send it out to you all.
I would like the original document too for program review to make sure that we're not.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, I'm sure would be happy to share. So I don't feel like we ask it on the I don't even know where we stand.
Yeah, I think one of the problems really with the whole SLO process was there right from the beginning, where it was a catch-22 situation. When people started saying we need SLOs, the faculty resistance was absolute in terms of it should be faculty autonomy. We should be the ones making the decision on this. Do not tell us what SLOs are, etc. Well, that was fine, except then nobody knew what the SLOs were, so it was people shooting in the dark, saying, well, we think this is it, etc. And then you start the feedback coming in where people going, no, that's not it, etc. And I think what's happened over a period of time is now you are starting to get ones, I mean, you mentioned Golden West, that seem to have nailed things down, and that now people can start looking at models. But the resistance to the creation of models was there from the beginning, saying we need to be in control of the process. And so that's what happened, but that's where it became that catch-22. We didn't know what we were doing because nobody knew what they were doing. And it became the trial and error aspect. And now it's looking at different models and saying, are these ones that we can adapt for our purposes and views on it?
I
And
know
that's
in
where
the
we are.
CTE division, we resisted because the examples they gave us were not good.
Right. Well,
And-
I mean.
And we said, this doesn't make any sense, it's useless information. So I'm very concerned that we're gonna continue that process and continue faculty working throughout the district on this when we don't know what it is we're supposed to have.
And that's the catch-22, and that's where I said, and I think there would be a reason to reject those things that were being given, but that's where, if you handed them, you reject them because they're not right, but then if you're not handed anything, you have nothing to go on, and that's where the problem comes.
Sarah, this was part of your report, so where is our next step? Where are we going? Are you going to solicit faculty training again? What's happening next?
Oh, yeah, I have training scheduled and I'm still fleshing the dates out. But the problem is about the training, we can do the training, but it's important to do and to get things going. But I also want to make sure we're training people correctly, so that's the other issue. But yes, I think that's what we're doing. But I mean, a lot of this has been an exploration for me and figuring out what we need. And I asked for help a long time ago, and finally we got a consultant to look at it. So I think that that's the first step. This is the first step for me. I mean, I have 3 different goals and 6 pages, and I have already, there's 3 or 4 things on each goal I know I can accomplish in the next month. I think that that's where I want to go to, but I would like to have, I think that when I look at colleges that seem to be more successful, they seem to have like a team of people working on this. not just one person alone. And that's kind of the nature of it. It's that kind of synergy that you get, and you are able to bounce ideas off and explore and figure it out, and also having people, you know, who know different people, and it kind of is able to grow that way. So I'm excited. I'm hoping somebody wants to do it. I don't know.
When you say somebody wants to do
This
it,
is
meaning the assistant coordinator? Are there any other questions for Sarah?
Well, my question is, this agenda item?
No, it's part of the report, it's
But
not an
part of
agenda.
this report, what are we being asked to do?
It's just a report. She's not asking anything of us.
No sense of anything about support of this.
I think Bob wants to know what you, a vote or something.
Then it would need to
On
be
the increased
agendized
support.
on a subsequent agenda for us to take a position on it.
So for right now, could there be a sense of the Senate in terms of?
Would that be a second reading? The issue is that if we want to get funding for this, it has to be decided before the one-time funding comes. So that, and this is the beginning of the third week of the semester, just to be clear, you know, so, I mean, I couldn't have gotten here quicker, so I don't know if we can't get a vote. I mean, Bob wanted a vote to know what you guys wanted, or, I don't know.
In order for us to take an action on it, it would have to be described in the agenda, so all interested parties would be able to come and level whatever their concerns are. So we can, well, folks, do you have a sense of any idea that you would like to give the SLO committee regarding what you see in front of you that's just been delivered today? Or would you like to take it back to your divisions and have a discussion with them about the tasks that are being outlined? What is your pleasure, folks?
Just for point of information, so you just want, all we're talking about is a sense of, do we think that we should support these?
The expenditure.
The expenditure for people to facilitate these SLOs. I think, yeah, I think we can.
Better you than me.
I would caution you folks to go back to your divisions and ask, because if these additional FTEs are allocated for release time for these positions, it will not be available to allocate to different positions. So I would just caution you. Jesse?
We all have a division rep that goes through these.
Yes.
And hopefully all of you have talked to them.
They were supposed to reach out.
They're supposed to talk to us. I know they talked to our division. And I really believe we ought to give her a sense to increase the amounts that we have here. And she can bring it back as a agenda item for us to vote on next time. But I think, and I don't know, when's the one-time funding?
I think we only have one more meeting before the one-time funding deadline,
Okay, so we gotta do something now so that the next meeting we can vote on it.
So just to clarify, Jelena.
The one thing, hold on
I'm
just a
sorry.
second. The one thing I want to mention to you folks, because I sit on the PBC, one-time funding cannot be used for personnel. So this would not be a one-time funding request. It cannot be used for personnel. It can only be used for purchases. So if we are buying a software program, that would be part of one-time funding. This actually would come under classified needs assessment. So it has no link to one-time funding.
I don't know anything about that, because that's what I was told, that it was gonna be one-time funding, so.
I'm not as confident as you are that Brown would prohibit us voting on it next time.
Okay.
I am not completely convinced that it has to be agendized.
Okay.
If it is something that is out of the normal process of what they're doing, and we've read it. I don't know if that's specifically the case. It's been presented to us and can be agendized for a vote, I think. It may be that you actually need to have it agendized, but I'm not totally positive about that. But we can certainly give a sense to the Senate to say, yes, we support this thing, and then if that is the case and we find that it is, then we can put it off till the next time. But it's Brown, it's not anything below Brown.
Right.
You have to worry about that. Okay?
And I remember from Brown training that it's only if it's something that's completely unforeseeable, and the report came out in December. So
Okay.
I wouldn't want to say that it's completely unforeseeable, because it's over 2 months old now. But that's just me. I
think that
am
is the
not
exception.
dictating to you folks how
No, I
this
think that
needs
is
to
the
go.
exception, then.
So if you folks would like to provide to the SLO committee a sense as to whether or not you support the reallocation of this release time and the addition of a classified support staff to that.
I'm going to tell you that from our division, they're going to ask for more. You may have already got that from Greg Gavin, but he wants researchers to do this. and he wants much more money to be spent on it. So you're going to get, you would get allocated much more people from us. Because to do it right, let's do it right.
So Julian, again, I'm just trying to get clarification. So you use the word reallocation of release time. So it's like, I don't really, it's hard for me to assess this. Like so many things that come up in the district, I can't go bring up my account and see what's in my 403B, what's my savings and checking. All I can look at is the checking account. So I don't know, are we taking release time away from other things that have already been encumbered? Or are we trying to use campus funds in some way to expand the available, let me finish, the available release time? Somehow we're going to up the amount of money that we're giving out in release time campus-wide to accommodate this, or are we reallocating? And if we are, I have no idea where we're reallocating from, so I don't know how to address this. I don't know what we're taking away from Peter to pay Paul. I have no idea. So I don't know how to evaluate that.
Last week, I don't see anyone that attended the campus budget allocation model forum. There is a certain pot of money from which all things come.
Right.
And if you spend it here, you can't spend it there. So that's why we call it reallocation. There is no new money that is a windfall that just drops on us that says, here's new money, do this. That is separate. So if we are going to spend our money on these items, they would not be available for, say, other classified positions that might be on the classified needs assessment, or for other faculty release endeavors that might be dictated by accreditation standards.
Yeah, new possibilities for release time. Yeah, new request. Anyways, this will fit into those things that have to do with amended or new requests for release time, not the standing ones. Okay,
No,
got it.
not the standing ones.
Got it.
Okay, so do you want to give her a sense of the Senate, or would you like to take this back to your divisions to have a conversation?
Well, I mean, I don't see how we can take this back and have a discussion if I don't know if I'm stealing from Peter to pay Paul. I mean, what am I discussing? Well, we want to give them more release time, which certainly seems valid to me. It seems like about a 5-person job to me. But if it's reallocating and it's taking away from whatever, I don't know, BSI or what, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
It would not take away from anything that we currently have. It would take away from things that we would potentially want in the future.
I have a concern because it seems to me like there should be like a vice chancellor who's also doing investigation across the state of California to find out best practices with SLOs. And that they could be helping guide this process, and that we shouldn't be reinventing the wheel at Cypress because Fullerton's must be going through some of the same kinds of conversation. So as far as giving more release time, it's such a minute amount, yeah, okay, but it seems like we should be recommending to the board, say, help us on this, because this is actually turning out to be a big deal that we need more resources on.
So from everything I've heard so far, everyone agrees this is a big job and somebody needs to do it, and now we need extra people to help with it. So I think you may just have the sense of the Senate that we'd really like to see this expand to more than what it currently is at the 0.6. Is that a pretty accurate statement? Is there anyone that would be opposed to having it increased? Yeah, I don't see anyone in opposition.
I'd like to know if they're comfortable with a specific number or not, so maybe people could ask their colleagues, are there areas, what number of people think is appropriate, and then, because that's kind of the idea that it's a faculty-driven process, so Senate is a good place to say, what do we want? And so that would be helpful, and then next time we can report back on that.
Yeah, I think, picking up on your thought, Kathleen, the Vice Chancellor of Educational Research Technology obviously should be involved.
Seems like.
So we need to make sure he knows about your problems. I'm sorry, whoever that person is. And that, because if he's supposed to be, or she's supposed to be watching Fullerton, SCE, and us, and these matters. So make sure that she's aware of the problem.
She has asked repeatedly to come and address our Senate and to solicit what we would like to see from her and how she can help us. So maybe we should invite her to an SLO committee meeting and then have her come to Senate to talk to us as well. Jane?
We don't have a division meeting for a long time.
in our division. Can I have some electronic versions of this so I can get that out to my division
gonna send
and
it to you.
email? That would be terrific, thank you.
Can you send that?
Then let's move on to the next report, program review and department planning.
So in program review, the issue is SLOs. We're going to be meeting, we're actually reviewing the CTE programs right now, the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to be writing our annual report. But the issue is what to do about the wide variety of information we're getting on SLOs and what's expected. So I sent emails out saying, what should we be looking for on those reports? And I got periodic reporting, which is really vague. So what we were gonna do is meet with Sarah and try to figure out what that means exactly. And the other thing that I got was that it was supposed to be done annually, not every 3 years, which is huge. Right. So anyway, that's it. We'll have more probably in a month.
District Council on Budget and Facilities, I will be providing that report. We did on this campus last week, a budget allocation forum. I don't think I saw any faculty there. Maybe I missed them because I was sitting towards the front. But folks, when our accreditation site team members come and ask you, do you know how money is allocated? Do you know how we might...
It's a great meeting.
What is it? Rob Peter to pay Paul, how that works. That's what the budget allocation forum is about, for us to understand how the money gets allocated and how to ask for money. The School of Continuing Ed at their meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago, they came up with an entire proposal that they're going to forward to the Council on Budget and Facilities and DCC on how they would like their funding allocated for facilities and staff and equipment. And we haven't had those kind of conversations here at Cypress College in the Senate the way that they had their conversations. But if I could strongly encourage you folks to attend budget allocation forums and take a look at the budget allocation slideshows, I'd like to do that. So then I can explain to you how it's not taking from one pot to another, it's just taking from a pot that we could have otherwise allocated to something else.
Right.
Because we have a classified needs assessment that has already been prioritized in previous years that we could work down, but if we end up adding a 0.4 position for classified, now that one supersedes the rest of the list, and some people would complain about process because we already allocated these positions on process. So just something to be aware of. I'll lead right into the president's report because I'm looking at the clock, and I promised you folks I would not keep you past 5.
Jolena?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I'm not sure where this fits in, but I just wanted to make a comment. And excuse my naivete, I'm just trying to understand the process here because I keep hearing that items need to be agendized. I guess that means that those are the items that we're going to vote on. But it seems that the other part of the agenda is taking up all the time that's dedicated to those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's a way that the agenda can be based on the amount of time that sometimes, I mean, I get it that there are no reports and it's like no report, no report, no report. And then other times it's, you know, I think I'm going to take about 10 minutes or so, but then that we build a agenda based on those times. Because this is the section where we don't have any time limits on, but that's the section that took up all the time, so we can't even get to the items that are agendized.
See item H under 7, process for setting agenda for
Yeah.
Senate meetings.
Yeah.
That was on our last agenda
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
On 3 agendas. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love to address
So
that at some point.
I would encourage, if anyone wants to re-agendize that for higher up on the agenda next time, so that we have a discussion of why we end up till 5 o'clock and haven't gotten to our agenda items yet. I appreciate you bringing that. Yes, we're going to have an agenda item on how to agendize items. You echo so many people's sentiments. No, not at all. All right, Campus Diversity Committee, okay, here we go. I'll start with the first thing. We don't have Gary Zager till April. There's a lot of things that need to be taken care of, and typically is within the purview of the past president's position. The items of most concern are the faculty awards and the election of division senators. Those both fall within the purview of that position. Gary is
Election of Senate offices.
forgive me, Senate offices. Those items, along with the various meetings that are regularly attended by your two designated Senate reps, president and past president or president-elect, we need to decide who's going to do that, or if we're going to just forego that particular vote. So for example, on PBC Impact, we have 2 votes. I would be one, Gary Zager tends to be the other. If he's not available, we're losing 1 vote if I can't find someone else to stand in his stead. So we need to find a way to divide up those duties.
I attended those meetings. I'd be happy to attend those meetings still. The only thing that I would not be able to do is the elections, because you can't run the elections and run in the elections.
Okay.
But I could do the others.
Okay. Pat?
Typically, when we've had situations arise where somebody who is designated as the person to be there, whether it's a meeting or something else, when they can't do it, we've turned to members of the Senate exec. That's what the whole purpose has been. We have several officers on it, and I think that should be the first step that we would take, to look to members of the Senate exec to parcel out responsibilities too.
I have done that so far. I was kind of looking for something a tad bit more permanent, since we know that this is going on until April. So Brian was kind enough to step in to PAC and PBC with me last week, and the question came up, now he's going to be here for the rest of the time, and I'm shaking my head yes, and he's all like, I agreed to this, because I had only asked him for that one meeting. But it would also be all of the other positions that Gary was serving as our representative in. The Institutional Effectiveness Coordinating Committee, the Technology Coordinating Committee. There's a number of different ones that he had said yes to, that he was our
But
rep.
again, that's where I think the first option should be to go to members of the Senate exec. If you do not have people from the Senate exec who can fill it, then I think you go outside. But that should be the first place to be looking for. And if it's, for example, if Brian can make most of them but not all of them, see if there's another Senate exec member who can't. But otherwise, if Brian says I can step in until April, or then you go outside.
Well, then I will rely on our Senate exec to help fill those gaps for Gary's absence. For the appointment of representatives, I did not get. Oh, yes, ma'am.
You're saying that he's, the past Gary's, because I don't know, other than to call him Gary, because you put on here, he's ill and he
Yes.
can't, so he can't serve as far as these meetings, but is he like totally incapacitated?
He is not on campus until the middle of April.
And we've gotten, Sheree asked,
Yeah.
we've gotten some permission.
Yeah,
He's doing quite well, but it was just, Jane, your comments were so right on when you talked about how much that was going to take out of him with his stem cell therapy. And
He probably won't be able to do anything for the rest of the semester.
Well,
Just
he's,
put that out there.
he was
I wouldn't if it were
really
me.
hoping for it, macing a week or something like that, and was in very good spirits. And it's just, going downstairs, he has to then take a rest. And all of that, as you had anticipated, it's all normal. There's nothing that's crazy about it or anything like that. He's doing very well. He does have a new hairstyle and no beard, but he seems to be through that. And you get the sense of you actually see the personality coming through in the emails, whereas it was just sort of very curt earlier. So it's positive, even though he's not back as soon as he wanted to be. So he wanted to pass that along.
Thank you for sharing that. Did that
Yes,
answer your
ma'am,
question?
thank you.
I did not have any faculty respond to my call for the Campus Diversity Committee. I did not have any faculty respond to the call for Gary or Joe's positions on the Institutional Effectiveness Coordinating Committee. I did not have a faculty member respond to the District Technology Coordinating Council. The Registrar Hiring Committee moved forward without us because we did not end up with.
Did Mike make close?
Not that I'm aware of. Not on that one. But I'll go back and
You
check.
said he's on the committee, so.
Okay. Because we needed 2, so
That's
maybe he would have been one. For the Enrollment Management Committee, I sent out a call. I did get 3 people that were interested. Technically speaking, I got 2 and a third who said, well, if nobody else. So I'm counting that as 3. So I would like you to allow me to appoint Christy Deep, Mark Najarian, and David Nussbaum to the Enrollment Management Committee. Is there anyone in opposition to that appointment? All right. So we'll consider that one done.
Christine, Mark, and David, right?
Christy Deep, Mark Najarian, and David Nussbaum. According to Shantanu, he believes there's only going to be 2 to 3 meetings, so it shouldn't be too time consuming. Brian, did you serve on it last time? I think you served on
Yes, I
it
did.
previously. The one thing I do want to bring your attention to is the Senate said at the last appointment that we did for enrollment management, we wanted someone from CTE to sit on that. Not a single CTE faculty indicated their interest in serving. So, for the Staff Development Committee, they were looking for an appointment of an adjunct faculty member. I would like to appoint Kathleen High as the second adjunct instructor for the Staff Development Committee. Is there anyone that would be opposed to that appointment? All right. Then moving on to the BSI co-chair. Well, let's see. Where did it go? Uh-oh. What's the name?
Cindy Shroud.
Thank you. That person. That was...
Math, Tanya.
Okay, so is there anyone opposed to the appointment of Cindy Shroud to the BSI Initiative Co-Chair position? Okay. Then there was a host of calls for comprehensive management evaluation committees, and I hope that you would allow me to appoint for Rick Ram's committee, Alan Risa. Is there anyone opposed to that appointment? And for Dave Wassenauer, Jeannie Miller. By the way, these were the only people that put their name forward on those. On Eldon Young, I did receive 3 people of interest. The first person, yes, ma'am.
Is that one recent faculty?
Yes, he is our new EOPS full-time counselor.
That is, okay.
Yes, and he was specifically qualified for this because he comes from student services and financial aid, and he has that background. So you'll also hear his name for Keith Cobb because he was specifically requested for Keith Cobb because of his familiarity with financial
I
aid.
guess I missed the fact that you had now has a faculty appointment that barely know of.
Yeah, they announced it at fall opening day, and everyone was very, very excited that he had been selected as the full-time EOPS counselor. But back to Eldon Young, I did have 3 people that put their name forward. The first person to respond has removed their name because they heard that there were 3 people. So I'd like to appoint the second person who responded, which is Stuart Rosenberg. Is there anyone in opposition to that appointment? Very well. And for Keith Cobb, Alan Risa. So not only is he a new faculty, but now he's on 2 evaluation committees. Is there anyone opposed to that appointment? Okay. For Marla McBride, I had a faculty member who mentioned that she would do it if no one else did. So I would like to appoint Janet Winkler to Marla McBride's. Is there anyone in opposition? And then for Darlene Fishman's comprehensive management eval, Katie Cruz. Is there anyone in opposition? Okay. So that takes care of those appointments.
I'm not in opposition to this, but just in the future when we do this, you might mention the division that that person is from. Because, I mean, some of us know, for example, that Janet and Katie are from health science, but others may not. And so knowing that Marla McBride is being reviewed by somebody in health science might help.
I apologize. One thing I should mention is for each of these, when the person responsible for putting together the committee contacted me, they had a preference for the type of background of the faculty member that was being selected. So for example, on the Marla McBride, they wanted somebody who had familiarity with health services.
Right, and that's perfectly understandable, and that's why I think the Senate should be informed, because my guess is that some people know that these people came from health science, but my guess is that some of them don't know that, so just to make it clear.
So I'll go back. Rick Rams is our Dean of Student Services, and Alan Risa, formerly of Student Service Financial Aid, now a counselor in Student Services EOPS. Dave Wassenauer, the Dean of Business. Jeannie Miller is an accounting professor in the division. Eldon Young, the Dean of Language Arts, Stuart Rosenberg, an English faculty member, Keith Cobb, who is Director of Financial Aid, Alan Riza, coming from Financial Aid, but now an EOPS counselor, Marla McBride, the Director of our Student Health Center, Janet Winkler being a nursing faculty member from Health Science, Darlene Fishman, who is the Director of Nursing, and Katie Cruz being a nursing faculty member. So for those. Just a couple other items. I sent out a call, technically I forwarded a call for faculty who may be interested in serving on the Board of Governors for the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. And I had 2 faculty members from Cypress College that are interested in submitting their applications. And one of the provisions of the application includes a letter of support from the local Senate. And I was wondering, do we feel comfortable when we have a faculty member who would like to serve at the state level in providing that letter of support? I personally love to see faculty get involved outside of our campus, so I'm all over letters of support for state level.
We certainly can, but we don't have a letter set, and unfortunately, the deadline is not before our next meeting. We don't have a letter to give them.
If the...
Wouldn't we have to vet that letter and say, yeah, we approve of that letter? No? I'll write the letter then. Just trust me.
No, I would think that it would be just you have an executive board among the Senate, and you could do that on the executive board.
Wow. Who are we supporting?
It
doesn't matter.
That's where the vote.
Yeah, it's just a board of governors.
Blank check.
No,
Yes.
that's where the vote comes though, right?
I'm
Logically.
pretty sure if it were me, there would be a lot of opposition.
It's
not me, so.
The candidate, but then the board writes the
See you
law.
later, buddy.
So my question that I'm bringing to you, and this is the question that I'm posing, is it appropriate for the Senate to provide letters of support to faculty who are seeking to serve? This is only an application. It is not necessarily final. There's only one position available, and it's being opened up to all 112 community colleges. So it's a competitive application process. This person is merely looking for the faculty to say, or I shouldn't say the faculty, for the Senate to say that this is a faculty member at Cypress College and they are applying for this consideration with the Board of Governors position.
Well,
And that the Senate supports it.
yes, it's
So
not.
back to Craig's question.
Yeah, so whoever that person is needs to come before the Senate and talk about why they want to serve on this,
Okay.
right?
Do we know if not having it? I mean, obviously there's applications, so if there's one position for all these people, in a paper screening, those people would get screened out, it would seem, if they're not complete.
Let me just read to you what it says. So this is what it says. Candidates for nomination should submit a letter of introduction, a current resume outlining relevant professional activities, and the letter of local Senate. All original materials, blah, blah, blah. Up above that, it says the nominee is strongly encouraged to include a letter of endorsement from the faculty's local academic senate. Encouraged. It's not a screen out factor for incomplete. So they do not have to have the local senate's endorsement. They can put through without our contemplation. So, yes, sir.
When do they have to have
The applications are due Friday, February 20th.
So we won't have another meeting?
No, we won't have
Then I say, well, I think that we should not write a letter of support, seeing how we don't know who I don't know who the candidate is. I don't know why they're interested. I don't know what the qualifications are. I wouldn't write a letter of recommendation for a student based on the information I have.
Yeah, exactly.
You would? No, I would not.
How often does this kind of thing come up?
They have the opportunity to appoint a faculty member according to this. Let's see. This went out on January 21st to all of you folks. Do you remember what? Oh, they're two-year staggered terms. So we have an opportunity every year to forward a faculty member.
Maybe you let faculty know that if they're interested, they ought to let us know early, they can come to the meeting, and we'd be happy to give a letter depending on the outcome. Because I think we should give them a letter, but wait.
No, I like the idea, it's just, we have to go through the process.
Okay, so that takes care of that one. There was one other. I don't see it now.
Baccalaureate.
No, okay. There was one other that I thought that I brought with me, but I don't see it, so it may have gotten pulled. That happens. People say, talk about this, and then they're all, please don't do that. Okay, so I'm going to say, and that concludes my president's report. It is 5 minutes after 5. What is your pleasure, folks?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, folks. I will see you in 2 weeks.